Let's talk about entrepreneurship because when you see people showing up on social media, you might think that they have it made. And what they're showing you is actually a highlight reel of their life. Perhaps the finished product, or maybe them appearing on TV or on a podcast, getting interviewed, or maybe they're in a publication somewhere. But what we don't see is the struggle behind it all, how difficult and lonely the road to entrepreneurship can really be. And I say lonely because it's hard for other people to understand what's going on inside of your head. It's hard for other people to feel what you feel. And it's also hard for other people to see your vision and to want to manifest that dream that you have for yourself. Whether you want to make money, leave a legacy, impact the world, or share your message in a way that makes sense to you, this episode is for you. Welcome to Get Intentional with Mary. This podcast is for the busy woman who appreciates working hard and also playing hard. This show will focus on lifestyle, entrepreneurship, wellness, amazing interviews, and what every woman needs to live a successful and fulfilled life. Be sure to subscribe, share with friends, and leave a review. Now let's get on with today's topic. Although entrepreneurship can be beautiful, the thought of you working for yourself and having that time freedom, there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of heartache. I'm going to be honest with you. There's a lot of disappointment and frustration. Sometimes there's a lot of lack of understanding as to maybe why you chose this path when it's so difficult and the road to success is so paved with so many potholes and so many pins and nails that will make your tires flat. I mean, it's a crazy visual, isn't it? But it's true. If I were to go back to 2004, which is when my journey to entrepreneurship began, I would do things very differently. And the reason why is because at the time, I thought I could do it all myself. I thought that I already had all the skills and that I could go on and learn something on my own if I didn't know what I was doing. And I did. Many times I did. I went ahead and also pivoted several times, tried this one thing, tried another thing, and I would get so frustrated when certain things didn't work out. I would get so disappointed. I remember working on a project way back when and biting a little bit more that I could chew because at the time I was designing and developing websites for clients. Some of my clients were in the US and some were out of the country. And some of them really needed a more robust type of website with a database, and I didn't know how to do any of that. So, thinking back to that time, I have to give myself a little pat on the back for being very resourceful and finding somebody that could fill in those gaps. And that's when outsourcing began for me. So I focused more on the front end. I focused more on the design aspect of these types of websites. And I outsourced what I didn't know. And quite frankly, what I didn't care to know. I didn't care to program databases. I didn't care to learn JavaScript or SQL or setting up a back-end database of all the different products and barcodes and all the things that that client had. I didn't care to do any of that because I found it extremely boring. But there are people who love to do that. So I was able to find someone to help me with that. Then I thought, look at me. I'm reaching out to someone who could help to fill in those gaps. And I was able to still charge a decent amount of money for these projects. And all was well, and I was making good money. But then I got bored, and then I decided to look into other things that I wanted to do. Enter network marketing. I remember my first experience with network marketing was with a company called Melaleuca, and it came to me at a time when I was looking for better options for household products, products that were not toxic, because at the time I was about to have my daughter and I wanted the home to be free of quote unquote bad chemicals. and I wanted to make sure that it was a safe environment for her. So I did some research online, and this is back in the day when we didn't have Instagram or even Facebook. All we had was either Yahoo browser or at the time the MSN browser, and I'm forgetting a couple of other ones that were pretty old back then. And Google, I believe, was just up and coming. But I found this company, I found this woman who was in a different state who was promoting these products, and I reached out. And before I knew it, I became a Melaleuca distributor. I loved the products, they were great. And as with any other network marketing company, what they promote that you do is these house parties that you invite as many people as possible to these events. And that's what I did. I was living in a apartment complex at the time, and I thought, okay, let's just go ahead and try this. They're telling me to do this, and this way I can make some money too while I'm using the products, and I can get the products for free, etc. So I printed out flyers, and I went to all the neighbors and I put the flyers under their doors, and I set myself up with like a nice little table, and I had some products there. I knew exactly what I was going to talk about. I had some snacks. The day came, not a single person showed up. No one. So what I learned from that experience is that you have to network. And somebody who was extremely introverted and never spoke to her neighbors is not all of a sudden going to have people showing up at her doorstep. So there went that. I did stay with the company for a while, didn't really sell anything. But I do remember feeling so disappointed and thinking, well, man, this is not for me. You know, how you go into this spiral of negativity because now you have this little piece of evidence that is telling you that, man, you suck at it. You're never going to be a salesperson. How do you expect to have any level of success with this type of business when it's all about the people? But eventually I just let that go and continue to focus on my business, my web design and development business, continue to do that. Stayed at home with my daughter. It was a blessing to be able to stay at home and work around her schedule and still be happy at home. So the next time that I pivoted was fitness. I found a Zumba class and I loved it. And it allowed me to really find that hour of therapy. Now, if you've listened to my previous podcast episodes before, you'll know that I found Zumba fitness at a time when I was really depressed after losing my dad. And it helped me to bring me a little bit out of my shell, to find people that I had common interests with, people that really just wanted to feel good and just wanted to be happy. And it was so contagious and infectious to be around people like that. And I loved it. So I was following my instructor around like a lot of my followers do. They follow me around no matter where I teach, no matter where I go. And before I knew it, it was time for me to become an instructor. So enter career number 3. Became a Zumba instructor, which led to personal training, led to nutrition. And when I saw that there was a bigger need for more mindset training, because a lot of my ladies were not able to commit unless I was with them, unless they had that level of accountability, that's when I began to look into life coaching. But this was a process that took years. It was a process of me learning more about myself, coming out of my shell, being more willing to talk about what I love to do, being more willing to share some of my own personal struggles when it came to my own fitness, my wellness, my mental health. And it began to attract a certain type of lady to me. So I was known, of course, for the whole physical fitness, for nutrition, for personal training, for being the Zumba instructor, for doing these Zumba events, which was wonderful. And little by little, the business end of my life, of my entrepreneurship journey, kind of became left behind. But eventually I began to miss that because what happened was that while I was building myself as a fitness professional, as a Zumba instructor, and as a life coach, I had so many skills from my web design and development background that I put to use consistently in my business, and I didn't realize it because I knew how to do all of these things. I never had to reach out for help. I never had to ask anybody to edit a video for me or to set up a membership site or to set up an email newsletter or to set up my social media profiles in a way that made sense. I never had anybody help me with setting up an email list because I knew how to do all of these things. And as I continued to do more and more of that, people noticed and they would ask me, how do you do this? Or who did this for you? And I would say, it was me. It's all 100% me. And they would say, you know how to do all that? And I would say, yes, I do. Would you like me to help you with this? And that's where the life coaching and the business coaching began to blend. Because now I wasn't only working with women who needed help with their weight loss or their motivation or nutrition. I was also inching closer to my ideal client, who is a woman in business, who needs help with her mindset, with setting the right priorities, with keeping herself accountable to the things that she said she would do, with getting organized, and also having a successful business, being able to show up more confidently on social media. So entrepreneurship takes many, many forms through the years. And what I would say to you, if you find yourself a little bit confused as to which direction to go into, just go with the flow. Sometimes you have to go with the flow. And listen, in the beginning, I didn't really have a plan. The only time I had a business plan for myself was when I was going to open up a fitness studio. And this was at a time when I was 7 months pregnant, and I knew it wasn't going to be a good idea, but I went against those instincts anyway. I went through the whole motion of writing up a proper business plan, and that process taught me a lot. It taught me that you always have to have a plan for your business. Always. And a lot of the times what we see is people going on social media and not having a proper plan for their social media. What is the outcome for that account? What do you want your website to do for you? Is it going to collect leads? Is it going to give people information? It's important to understand these things before we dive in. And that was, I think, part of my biggest struggle in the past, is not really understanding which direction I wanted to go into, because I have so many passions and I love to do so many things that I was just going with the next thing. Once I got bored with one thing, I would go into the next thing, not having real direction. But it wasn't until I finally hired a business coach for myself. Now you would think, okay, Mary, you're a business coach. Why did you have to hire a business coach? Well, the reason why is because you can't really read the label if you're inside the jar. And sometimes it takes a bird's eye view of what you're doing outside of that to tell you, hey, have you thought of doing it in this way? Or what do you think about this strategy? And that's when things began to take a different turn for me, for the better, for the better. And I knew that I had to get more structured, not only with my time, but also with my content. I had to get more intentional. And this is something that is coming to me once again as I'm recording this, because it's easy to follow the shiny object. It's easy to try and go with what other people are doing because you see that something is working for them. And then you start to think, okay, I should be at a completely different level right now in my business. Maybe let me try what they're doing. But then you'll notice that the reason why things are working for them is because they're being super authentic with what they're doing and who they are and how they show themselves, as opposed to trying to be someone else. So when I leaned more into who I am and who I want to portray to the world, which is the same exact person that I am, everything began to shift and change. I began to do the things that really matter to me. I began to post from the heart, to share certain things that mattered most to me, that were not necessarily business related, but that are relevant to my target audience, to my client, to my potential lady who is out there listening to me right now. And that is just getting more intentional. getting more organized, really being mindful of who I'm spending my time with, either online or offline, because there's a lot of distraction out there. So if you're somebody right now who has a business, who has a social media presence, the first thing that I would say to you is get proper mentorship, get a coach, somebody that can help you to structure your content in a better way, someone that can help you to see what it is that your ideal client or customer really needs from you. You might think that you know what they want, but that's completely different. That's completely different. That's our perception of what they want. So understanding how to put ourselves in their shoes changes everything dramatically. And if we're able to satisfy that need without compromising our values, without compromising who we are, then why not? Then we can actually fall into a nice groove. Because even though we work super hard as business owners, we're happy to do that. We wake up with that desire to create content, with that desire to write our next newsletter or to meet with our next client or to go to that next Zoom meeting because it's good for us. We love it. We get so much fulfillment out of it. But it does take a while. And even during the times that you will think that everything is all smooth sailing, there will always be a challenge. And it's in overcoming these challenges that we really learn who we are, that we understand what it is that we are willing to put up with and what we are not willing to put up with. And even though entrepreneurship is very hard, it's so fulfilling because when you finally achieve a certain level of success, and I'm not saying financial success, yes, we all want that financial success. But for me, it's all about the impact that we can make, the way that we allow ourselves to be seen, and what people see is themselves in you. And they also see that they can do what you are doing. And they're taking the good every single time, the good that you show. They learn to do things better. They learn to do things in a different way. They understand that their voice has value, that what they're doing has meaning. So if you're an entrepreneur, what is your passion? What is your end goal? Is it to leave a legacy? Is it to have a certain amount of financial success? Is it to impact the world? Is it to build up the next generation? What are you trying to do? And how are you going to get there? Now, of course, there are so many different ways that you can share your message. Here I am doing this podcast, and this is something that, again, was a long time coming for me. It's an extension of who I am. It's a way for people to not just see what I do visually on my social media channels, but to also listen to my voice and to hear the truth behind everything that I say, everything that I share. That to me was very important. And even though it's always been important, it was incredibly intimidating to put myself out there in this way. It was another way for me to grow, to look at this as a challenge and say, you know what? Other people are doing it, and I love listening to the way that they think and the way that they process things. If they can do it, so can I. So seeing what other people do, even though we definitely don't want to be distracted, we can look at what other people are doing as a source of inspiration and as evidence that it can be done. So what are you trying to accomplish, and how are you going to accomplish it? What are the skills that you need to learn in order to become a better entrepreneur? I have to tell you that the number one thing, besides everything that I've already shared with you, is mindset. It's the way that you think, the way that you see yourself. Because if you see yourself as someone who doesn't necessarily have anything important to share, or maybe that other people are doing it so much better than you, whatever you think is correct. You see, what you give power to in your mind will have power over you. And even though it takes a while to get to a certain place, there's always, 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 always room for growth. Being able to take a hold of those thoughts will allow you to take hold of those emotions. And there are times when, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't feel like doing certain things. I don't feel like recording a video. I don't feel like editing a podcast or recording the podcast. And as you're listening to this now, this podcast is being recorded in two parts because I had to take a week off. I was going through some personal stuff and I needed to just take a step back. I have so much on my plate now, and it's not bad stuff that is on my plate in terms of my work. It's all great things, and it's all things that maybe in some way I manifested, but it's still a lot to handle, and I need to reevaluate things, and I need to once again take a moment to prioritize and see what matters to me. How do I structure myself? How do I structure my time in a way that does not overwhelm me? And what I decided to do was just let a couple of things go and just focus on myself, focus on my family, and get back to all of this when I felt good and ready. And that meant doing a little bit of internal work, asking myself what's truly important for me, recommitting to the things that I said I would do. And sometimes we do need to take that break and not feel guilty about it, because it's life. And even though we do these things for ourselves, we have this business for ourselves, we also want to make sure that we're not compromising our mental health. You want to make sure that you are listening to that voice inside of you, not just a determined, ambitious voice, but also the voice of self-care, the voice that says, okay, yes, I hear you. You want to do all these things, but take a moment right now. Take a deep breath, reevaluate. What do you need to let go of today? What can wait until tomorrow or next week? What needs your attention right now? Who needs you more right now? And doing these things, I have to tell you, is pivotal, and doing them without guilt. Because whenever certain things would come up for me and I had to let go or wait on something that I needed to do, I would feel so guilty taking the time off. So guilty. And now I don't anymore. So if something has to wait until the next day, I'm fine with it. If I want to sit down and watch some Netflix in the evening and not be in front of my computer, I'm fine with it. And you know why? Because my peace is worth more than anything else. It's worth more than whatever money I can make, or however many clients I can see, or however much content I can put out there, not just for myself, but for my clients as well. My peace is worth so much more than that, because if I am not okay, the quality of my work will suffer. And I'd rather be performing at a higher level intentionally than half-assing everything that I do. And for a long time, I did half-ass everything. And now I see that everything that I do has more meaning. Everything that I say has more impact, because I'm taking my time, because I'm being much more intentional with what I do and what I share. So this is what you need to do. Take a step back, reevaluate, have clarity. Know that you need a plan no matter what, whether it's for your business, whether it's for your lifestyle or your social media. You need to have a plan. You need to write things down. You need to strategize. And you need to give yourself a measurable goal as well. We talked about SMART goals in previous podcasts. I'm not going to go over that now. Go back and listen to that, because having SMART goals can truly, truly help you to get to where you need to be in a more organized and less overwhelmed way. Setting deadlines for what you're doing, and also giving yourself a little bit of wiggle room and a little bit of flexibility, so that if for whatever reason something happens, because life is life, and you're not able to meet certain deadlines, you're going to be okay. You're not going to feel guilty. You're not going to feel like a failure. Being okay with pivoting, accepting the things that maybe you're not able to change, and just being able to go with the flow are very important when you're an entrepreneur. Getting organized with your time, getting organized with your finances, knowing that you have the right support no matter what is also important. Having a sympathetic ear that understands that there are times when you wake up in the morning and you don't feel like doing the thing that you're supposed to do. You don't feel like creating content, or you don't feel like opening up that laptop and writing things down. That helps tremendously. Having that support, having a sense of community. And this is something that took a while for me to find. But now I have. And it's amazing to have a network of women who truly understand what it's like to collaborate and have each other's back and really cheer each other on. because we're all on the same boat. Every entrepreneur knows that the journey can be a little bit lonely, but when you have someone to talk to, when you have someone to guide you through certain things, because maybe they've already been there, maybe they've already experienced something that you are going through, and they can gently, lovingly guide you. That's so important. And that's so important for anything in life. So I will leave you with this. Take a notepad and write down your plan. Write down your top 10 goals for maybe the next 5 years. Write down your top goal for the month. Break that goal down into attainable milestones. Write down how you feel about this goal. How are you going to feel when you reach the goal? And also, what do you need to learn to get there? Who do you need to meet? You may not have met the person that can help you get your next client or sell your next house or help you with investments or just be able to understand you a little bit more. Maybe you haven't met that person yet, but you will. There's a great book by Ed Milet, and it's called The Power of One. And basically, to summarize, it's all about the power of one more thing that you can do to help you get to where you need to be. That is one more prayer, one more connection, one more action that you can take, one more skill that you can develop, one more conversation. What is that one more thing that you need to do? And that's helped me tremendously, because when I feel like sometimes I want to give up, and I have to tell you, there are times when I'm like, okay, I think I need to let go of this and just go away for a month, because sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming. I say to myself, okay, I can do this for one more day, or I can continue to promote this program for one more day, or I can have one more conversation. I can have one more Zoom. I can do one more networking event. It's just one more, as opposed to having this massive thing in front of you. When you think about one more little thing that you can do, I think it makes it a little bit easier to get through what you need to do. So I hope that this has helped you in some way and has inspired you. And I hope that it also allows you to understand the mindset of an entrepreneur and all the things that we go through. Because if you have an entrepreneur in your life, you have to be supportive, and you want to learn to be your most supportive to that person, because our minds are constantly going, even at times when we're not necessarily working on our business. It's very difficult. It's not impossible, but it's very difficult to quiet that mind and to be fully present. So I will leave you with that today. I just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for your kindness, your beautiful words, your beautiful emails and texts, and for sharing my podcast with other people, and for letting me know that you share the podcast with other people. It's the only way that you can help me to grow, is to continue to share. So I thank you for that. And I also want to mention that I do have that retreat coming up in September. I haven't been promoting it much, but we do have a retreat coming up in September that's going to be absolutely amazing. Picture yourself in Costa Rica, ziplining, horseback riding, driving an ATV, spending a lot of beautiful quality time with like-minded people, learning how to meditate, learning how to practice mindfulness, learning from a life coach, spending time with a great, amazing yoga instructor who's going to take you through all different levels of fitness, not just for your mind, but for your body as well. This is an all-inclusive experience that I am putting together for you in Costa Rica. All are welcome. All meals are included, and I will also gift you a beautiful massage when you get there. So I would love to see you there. If you've been thinking about it for a while, now is the time to say, okay, you know what? This is something that I would love to do. Surround myself with like-minded people who have my back, create new friendships, experience a beautiful, peaceful sense of community and joy and laughter. The goal is to have fun and to have you come back to your environment feeling like you can take on anything that comes to you, because you will have the tools to do that. So for more information, visit retreat.marymassey.com. You can put your deposit down, and then you can make payments through July, I believe. So that is that. Thank you so much for being here. And remember to continue to live life with intention and cherish the people around you.